In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So Matthew 5:27. You have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. Now that is a very powerful injunction or a powerful commandment given by God to man. For there is a tendency in human nature to violate this rule, because the powers or the energy involved is so strong, operating within the male and the female. Between a man and a woman, the energy is so strong that people find it difficult to restrain themselves. Therefore, it is a very pertinent and important injunction given by God so that man can scrupulously observe it for his well-being and betterment. Any erring creates big problems. Any erring in this matter, whether the man is adulterous or the woman is, they get defiled by that process. And therefore they should be careful about it. When a man commits adultery, he is defiled by that process. So also, when a woman commits adultery, she too is defiled by that process. The act of marriage is sacred, and thus it has to be kept as a sacred union between man and woman. It's inviolable. It is God who has chosen the respective partners for each other, since no mortal man cannot live alone by himself. Therefore, he is provided with a helpmate, and they should live together, helping each other. The man is considered, every man is considered to be a high priest, considered to be a priest, officiating in that universal temple of God, because this is a real temple. The whole world, the universe, or the planet Earth is a temple. It is a temple of God. And every man is a priest. All the actions that he does, everything is to be done as a ritual. So he has got a sacred duty in performing his works, his sacrifices, done in the form of his rituals, his daily rituals, and whatever things he does every day, the ritual of living, the ritual of eating food, the ritual of preparing food, the ritual of growing food, the ritual of living life, the ritual of eating. All this is a ritual and is to be done like a ritual. And therefore, when he does this as a ritual, he is a priest indeed. He is a priest. So every man is a priest when he does his actions in this manner. So when he does it so, these acts which are done as a ritual or oblated to the good Lord, So that is what was indicated in the Bhagavad Gita too, that they have to be oblated unto the divine, unto Brahman. So same concept here also. So therefore, as a helpmate, a woman is provided to man to help him in his daily rituals of living life. Therefore, she too is sacred. He too is a sacred priest. She too is a sacred woman. And both of them perform their functions in a sacred manner. The ritual of living life, the ritual of begetting children, which too is a ritual, it's a sacred act. The process of begetting a child by union is a sacred act, and therefore it should not be violated. That sanctity of it should not be violated. The sanctity, the union of a man and a woman is a very sacred act. It is not for public demonstration or voyeurism. But so, it is something private, personal, and therefore it should be respected. The man should respect the woman, and the woman should respect the man. Therefore, when they understand this, they mutually respect each other, and they go about living their life as life partners. And it is God who has chosen the partner for each person in a lifetime. So that is why the expression goes, marriages are made in heaven and solemnized on planet earth by the people around. So marriages are made in heaven. That expression means that it is God who chooses the respective partners for each other. When the appropriate time has come, then the man or woman are brought together by God, and when they meet, it is like a magnetism when they meet, and they are drawn to each other by an invisible force set in motion by God Himself. So God Himself chooses the partners and brings them together at the appropriate time and appropriate place. It may be a partner may be drawn from another part of the world, but when the time comes, he or she is brought to that point so that the two can meet, and when they meet, a magnetism flows between the two, and they are brought, and then such a process further gets solemnized in the presence of all the elders. That is why marriages are conducted in the presence of elders, and also in temples, in churches, to indicate that it is a solemn ceremony and the union is a solemn act. So therefore it's inviolable. That being the case, it is a sacred union between man and woman, and they are not to forget that indeed, and mutually respect each other, be kind to each other, and also at the same time take care of each other. So that is why those marriage vows which are stated in the church are excellent indeed. They are beautiful marriage vows, and then one gives an oath. Do you take this man or a woman for a wife or a husband? So it's an oath, and it's an oath which has been promised in the name of God. So therefore such an oath is inviolable. You cannot. So thus it is a sacred a sacred union between man and woman. That being the case, every man or woman should see that they do not get led into adultery. So you have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. It's a very powerful, strong injunction. Man has to confine himself, and a woman has to confine herself for the better or the worse with their respective partners, with their respective Then he says, and in the process, but I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her, hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. So it simply means that one should not covet something which belongs to another. Every man belongs to another woman, and every woman belongs to a man whom she is married to, and therefore one should not covet the other's property. The woman is man's property, and the man is woman's property, and therefore nobody else should covet either the man or the woman. No woman should covet the man, and no man should covet another man's wife. And each man should learn to be content with whatever God has provided. For the better or the worse, he has to be content. He must learn to be content so that he can live by the rules and not live like an animal, like a human animal, lusting. So that is not the way to live life. So therefore, and at the same time he says, whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her has already lusted in his heart, had committed adultery in his heart, because that defiles the person. That defiles the person. Therefore the person must be careful about that process too. Whenever such a look comes, a thought comes or a feeling comes, man must immediately check and restrain himself as something which is improper. So when there is something improper, you immediately turn away, get away from that. You don't give in to your wrong impulses. So therefore, because it poisons the heart, when you do that, it poisons the heart of the man or the woman. Then he says, and the way to get over this is to be content with whatever one has. To be content and to covet not, just as much as it is highly improper and irregular to covet another's property, to covet another's house. Similarly also to covet another person's wife or a husband is also highly improper, and one should restrain oneself. And then it is also said that one should not take interest in breaking a marriage too. As far as possible, one must try to keep the couple together. To keep the couple together as far as possible. That's also very important. To provide all the help and the resources necessary and the advice to see that they are kept going together, because that is how it has been so ordained. Then he says, and if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. And if thy right eye offend thee, if perchance your right eye sees something offensive, and takes a perverse delight in seeing something offensive and bad, then he says, pluck it out and cast it from thee, because by that process you're enjoying something which should not be. So therefore, if you do that, cast it out, even pluck your eyes and put it away. Your eyes have become offensive. And therefore it is profitable. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. For if you do not do that, if you do not pluck out your eyes, it is said figuratively, to say that the whole process is so damaging to you, because by such improper looks, and improper deeds, then your whole body means the whole person will go to hell. Will go to hell as a retribution. Hell is a temporary place wherein you have to undergo hardship. In fact, should be cast into hell. So people wonder whether there is a hell or a heaven. Yes, some people very much wonder. But all the scriptures are in unison and uniformly declare that there is a heaven and a hell. The Hindu scriptures are very clear about it. The Bible states it, there is heaven and hell. Even the Buddhist scriptures speak of heaven and hell. In fact, there is a graphic, picturesque depiction of what transpires in hell when one goes to hell. What transpires there is picturesquely depicted in the form of figurines and things like that in the Tiger Balm Garden in Singapore. In Singapore, there is a famous, well-known Tiger Balm Garden, and in that Tiger Balm Garden, it is very clearly demonstrated in figurines. Graphically, it is shown what happens when people go to hell. They are roasted. They are roasted in fire. They are put into a crucible of oil and roasted. In case you have set a man on fire, if you have set a man on fire and put a man into his house and set his house on fire, and this man is also burning, then you too also, the person who does that deed, also will go to hell and be similarly set on fire and be roasted in fire. Be roasted in fire. Graphically, it has been described there. And the remarkable thing is, here, when this physical body can only endure a terrific pain for some time, and then it becomes unconscious, loses unconscious and becomes unconscious. But in hell, you don't lose that conscious. You don't become unconscious. Consciously, you will experience being set on fire and roasted in oil, burning oil. So that seeing all these things, people should know what is going to happen to them when they get there. What treatment. And it will be told also, you did this, there you are. You did this, there you are now experiencing this. So if you had roasted 100 people, you will be roasted 100 times. In communal riots, orders given by the government, even the government officials who gave the orders, they too will also bend their wrists, because the one who executes the order and one who gives the order, both are equally at fault, and both will be roasted together. Both the one who gives the order and one who does it. So these are crimes which are done on planet Earth all over. When you torture somebody here, in turn you will be tortured and feel the torture for a long time. So once people know this and see this, so all the lawmakers and politicians will be taken and shown them. Shown them. This is your fate when you get back. When you get back, when you leave this body, this is what is going to await you. Await you. So therefore, all these horrors and tremendous things, the wrong things which people do, they will have to reap the rewards of their horrible activities. And this is done by people not knowing its implications and consequences. So they'll be told, for this particular act of crime of yours, this is what you are going to experience. Similarly also it's opposite. So hell is a temporary resort. Heavens also is a temporary resort, wherein for some very good meritorious act and deed that you have done, you may also go to heavens, the opposite, the counter opposite, and there experience joy and happiness for some time. And when you go on, proceed on the way, you've got a welcoming committee. You've got a welcoming committee which receives you and tells you, welcome, come here. This is for what you did, this is what the reward that you're going to get. Come along and experience and enjoy this. But for some time. So after that merit is over, this is called merit. So after the merit is over, then you have a big drop and come back to planet Earth. There are two types of heavens. One is the heaven of returns, wherein you go to the heavenly regions, enjoy the merit of some of the special merits that you have done. The Buddhist and the Hindu speak of this very much. And after that is over, then you come back to planet Earth. It is like taking a holiday. You have earned your holiday. So you go up there, spend your vacation, and then come back. Similarly also, for the crimes that a person does, he goes to hell, experiences a hellish life, full of screaming and misery. You scream out of the agony, how you set the other man into agony. You will also correspondingly be in agony in hell. Then after that experience is over, then you come back. So that is why the whole body should be cast into hell. And the remarkable thing is, when you go to hell, you have got a special different body. With this body you can't go to hell. With this human body you can't go to hell. So the individual who is called the subtle body gets encased in another type of subtle body which is suitable for hell. Similarly for heaven also, you can't go to heaven with this physical body that you know very well, that when you leave this, when you die, your subtle body is said to be your individual soul that gets encased like a space shuttle. You know a space shuttle? If you want to dock and go to another place, another space travel, you go through initially you go through a space shuttle and then get yourself docked onto. So here also, as you depart from this life, you are docked onto a space shuttle either to go to heaven or to go to hell. So depending on which shuttle you have been preparing, and then you get into a special body there to enjoy the pleasures and the joys of living in heavens, and then correspondingly to in hell too. So this is what happens to a person. So people have to understand this is the heavens of returns. Then there is another heavens which is of no returns, wherein it's a very meritorious route, only be given to a few. In case you have not got enlightened in this lifetime, but you have done your spiritual practices with earnestness, with sincerity, but you had some weakness still. You had some deficiencies still. So then such a person makes a special exit from here, from this body, and goes to the heavens of no return. So there he remains for some time, gets further disciplined, and then thereafter he gets enlightened. That's called the heaven of no returns, wherein you do not come back once again to this planet Earth. You don't come back into this universe again. So these are the two types of heavens. Now, Paul spoke of the third heaven. Paul, at one point he gives reference to the third heaven. The third heaven, there he implies the state of enlightenment. The state of enlightenment, because where there is not a region, it is the God experience. The God experience that you will have, he calls it as a third heaven. Paul, and just at one place, he makes that reference. And that is the enlightened state wherein you are one with God. So these are the mystical secrets of life which one must learn to understand, and then to know which route to take, which route to prepare yourself while living here itself. While living here, the route. So therefore, and if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off and cast it from thee. Cut it off and cast. Your right hand offends thee. That means with your hands you can do good things or wrong things. Stealing is a wrong act. Huh? So in some parts for stealing they cut off their hands, isn't it? Huh? Because with the hand they did something wrong. So if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for me that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. So already the person receives his punishment here instead of going to hell. So it had been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. That is to say, in case it has been said, under no circumstances is a man to put away his wife, except if she indulges in fornication. Otherwise, unless she commits an error like adultery, fornication, she should never be put out, never be divorced. That is the only clause which is given there for divorce, for a divorce settlement. At all other times, that man should live with a woman. We should live with a woman. It's an inviolable act. Marriage is a sacred, inviolable process and should be maintained unless the woman defaults herself. Then, but I say unto you that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication. You see how specifically he mentioned it. Causeth her to commit adultery, and whosoever shall marry her, that is divorced, committeth adultery. So that means it also mentions that it is highly improper to marry a divorced man who has been divorced due to adultery. Due to adultery, the woman has been divorced, and to marry her would be also a great error. So this is now mentioned in the New Testament, in the Bible. And again, the reason being, she has become defiled. The woman had become defiled. And therefore, to marry a defiled woman, you also become defiled by that process. So therefore, one should not. So that is why the scripture is very clear about all these things. Again, 33. Again you have heard that it had been said by them of old time, thou shalt not forswear thyself. You know, people always swear. I will do this, I will give you this, I will do this. I will definitely give this to you. I'll definitely do this to you. People say this all the time. They swear. But he says, do not swear. Just simply say, I will do it, or I'll try to do it for you. I'll try to give it to you. That's all. Don't say anything more than that. So again you have, thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shall perform unto the Lord thine oaths. But shall perform unto the Lord thine oaths. So oaths are the O-A-T-H-S. You take an oath, like in a law court, you take an oath. So here also you have taken an oath. There is no legal document there, but here it's a verbal oath that I will do this for you, I will definitely do this for you, I will definitely give you this. Don't ever say that. Just merely say that I will try to do this for you, I will try to give you this. Because you have no power over it. What you can do and what you can give, you have absolutely no power. That's what the Lord is saying. God is saying that. But I say unto you, swear not at all. Don't swear at all. People swear all the time. Don't swear at all. Who are you to swear? Is the world under your command? Is the world under your command that you can do whatever you want to do? Is the world under your command that you can give whatever you want to give? No. So therefore he says, but I say unto you, swear not at all. Don't swear. Neither by heaven. So in the name of God, that's what, in the name of God I will do this for you. Don't ever say that or do that. So neither by heaven, for it is God's throne. For it is God's throne. Nor by the earth, for it is his footstool. Now what does this mean? That it is God's throne. It's a very beautiful implication here, mystical implication. But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven. Neither by heaven means neither in the name of God, for it is God's throne. Why is it called God's throne? That God gives the will. The will of God is initiated by Him. And that will of God is executed on planet Earth. It is will by God. Whatever is to be done, whatever is to be given, is will by God. It is not you. Everything that you do and everything that you give is so done because of the original will, the will of God. And the will of God, for it is God, that is why it is said, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne. So it is mystically worded here. That means to say, the will to do something originates from God. Originates from God. And then that will of God, nor by the earth. Do not forswear by the earth too. As a human being, don't forswear. For it is his footstool. For the earth. So on planet earth, whatever God wills in heaven gets executed by mortal man. That is what is meant by, for it is his footstool. Footstool here it means that what God had willed. That's why thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. The Lord's Prayer, it comes there, as it is in heaven, as it has been willed in heaven by the good Lord, will it be executed by mortal man on planet earth. That's the Lord's Prayer. So everything that is so willed has been so willed by God. and it gets executed via a person, via a man or a woman on planet Earth. So that is what is meant by neither by heaven, do not swear, not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne. That's what it means, that all willing takes place. Whatever happens in the universe, good or bad, from our point of view, good and bad, pleasant or horrible, pleasing or horrible, has been so willed by God. So that is by heaven. So will, that is God's throne. So anything which takes place, that is why there is a famous Tamil saying, அவனுடைய வில் இல்லாவிட்டால் அம்மி கூட அசையாது. Something. God. So avan means God's. Without his will, even a solid block of stone cannot move. So everything which moves, everything which happens is so willed by the will of God. By the will of God. So, and that will of God gets executed on planet Earth by man. So you only, that is why the Lord's Prayer, Lord's, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, as it has been willed in heaven, it will be executed by mortal man or mortal woman. So therefore, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for do not swear by Jerusalem. So Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. So Jerusalem, there is a Jerusalem and there is a new Jerusalem, and for it is the city of the great king. So in the name of God, don't forswear anything. Neither shalt thou swear by thy head. People do that. Swear by their head. In India they do that. Don't do that too. Don't do such a terrible thing. Neither swear by your head, because thou cannot make one hair white or black. Can you make one single hair white or black? It's not possible. It's not in your hands. So therefore, don't swear by your head too. But let your communication be yeah, nay, nay. Yes, I'll try to do. Yeah, yes, I'll try to do. No, I will. I may not be able to do it. I may not be able to do it. I may be able to do it, but I may also not be able to do it. So just only say that much. That should be a communication. Whatsoever is more than that cometh of evil. So if you say anything more than that, it cometh of evil, because then you have faltered. You have faltered. If you have said someone that I will more than, then you have faltered, it is said. Where is that? More than that cometh of evil. If you say anything more than that, it cometh of evil, means not good will transpire because you have faltered. You said that you will do it, but you didn't do it. Then you have faltered. If you say that I will give, and if you have not given, you have faltered. You are in debt now. It is yours, but you said I will give you. But if you have not given, then you are in debt for having not given. So you see how careful one should be in life. So therefore one must be very careful before one makes a promise in the world. Because these promises are inviolable. They are inviolable. You have heard that it had been said, an eye for an eye, number 38, and a tooth for a tooth. Huh? Because in the Old Testament, somewhere it has been mentioned, an eye for an eye here. A tooth for a tooth means take the corresponding revenge. Huh? Where in Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice, a pound of flesh. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. That's not the way. So he says, you have heard that it had been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that's not the way. That you resist not evil. Resist not evil. When evil is being done to you, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. When Jesus was slapped and pushed, he never responded. He just endured it. He suffered it. So it says, whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. Not that you turn the other cheek, but you endure it. You endure it. That is to say that you have no sense of revenge. No sense of revenge. If a dog barks at you, are you going to bark back at the dog? And then tell the dog, why did you bark at me? If a dog bites you, are you going to bite him back? The dog, if you bark at the dog will be so shocked. It is I who am supposed to bark, not you. I have the right and the privilege to bark. From where did you bark? It will be shocked. Maybe that is a way of stopping him from barking too, because it is so shocked. So therefore, turn to him the other cheek means that is without any attitude of a sense of revenge, without such a feeling. Then you know what happens? It rebounds back to that person. It rebounds back. There was a beautiful example of this given by Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha, of course, was in his younger years. He had gone for alms. He had gone for alms to a house. And his disciple Ananda was also with him. So when Ananda went to a house for alms, for food alms, the lady of the house saw Ananda, a young man, dressed in ochre robe, full-blooded young man, well-built, coming to beg for food. She got angry. And she could have been in a bad mood, and she scolded him. Then he didn't mind being scolded. Then she saw the Guru behind Buddha at the gate. She saw him. It is not only you who is being spoiled, but your Guru too. Your Guru too is standing there. So she began abusing the Guru, Buddha too. So when Buddha was getting abused, Ananda got a little angry. So he wanted to retort back. So Lord Buddha said, Ananda, he didn't say anything, Ananda, and promptly Ananda came away. Come, let's go, don't worry. So now they are walking. Then the water vessel, all the monks carry a water vessel. So Buddha had his water vessel too. He asked Ananda, whose To whom does this water vessel belong to? Why, yours. It is yours, of course. It is? Ananda replied, yeah, it is yours, my Lord. All right, I give it to you. I give it to you now. So Ananda takes it, accepts it and takes it. Then Lord Buddha is asking, to whom does this water what now belong to? So Ananda says, it is now mine, because I have accepted it. I have accepted it. Supposing you didn't accept it, what would have happened? It would have remained mine. So also, when that woman began abusing you, if you had accepted that, you would have received it. But if you did not accept it, it rebounds back and goes back to the woman who gave it. You see, this is what is meant here. This exactly is what is meant here when he says, so whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. That's what it's meant. So you don't respond, no revenge, you don't respond to that. You endure it. You endure it and it goes back to him. The sin and the error goes back to the person who so gave it, and he in turn will receive it from some other source somewhere at some other time. Maybe in a greater measure. If you make somebody weep, then you will be made to weep by somebody else. That's the law of life. Now, then in 40, and if any man will sue thee at the law and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak as well. If any man will sue thee at the law, so if somebody wants to sue you for something, then take away the coat, and he wants to take your coat away. Because in the olden days, people only had one coat and one cloak. They only had one. They were not wealthy enough to have half a dozen. Only one. So, if any man will sue you at the law and take away thy cloak, let him have thy cloak as well. All right, if he is insisting on taking this, you take this also, you tell him. Why did you leave this? Take this also. He will be so ashamed. That person will be so ashamed when you say this. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Sometimes some people compel you to do certain things, like compelling you to carry their load. Well, if he compels you to do it, go a little further. All right, go a little further. Go with him twain. All right, go a little further also with him. Oblige him and do it. The man will feel sorry about it. Give to him that asketh thee, and from him, so give to him that asketh thee. Whoever asks you for something, at least give something. Don't turn him down. A little bit you can give. Somebody is asking you because of a dire need, just give him a little. If you don't want to give the whole thing, give a little. So, give to him that asketh thee, and from him that could borrow of thee, turn not thou away. If somebody wants to borrow something from you, then do not deny him that. Give him that, whatever he wants to borrow from thee. You have, then 43, you have heard that it had been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. So perhaps this may be in the Old Testament. Is it? It's in the Old Testament. You have heard that it had been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. That was in the Old Testament. But Jesus says in the New Testament, but I say unto you, love your enemies. Love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. So the ethics given by Jesus is different. He says, love your enemies. So, in the first place, you have no enemies. He may consider you as an enemy. On your side, you have no enemies. You love one and all. You love one and all. So, a stranger is not an enemy. A man who tries to cause harm to you, and he's hostile to you, thinking that you're his enemy. You're thinking that you're his enemy, you're not his enemy. Right? But for such a person also, love your enemies. Love your enemies. When you love has such a power within itself that it melts down his enmity towards you. It melts it down. Because you have no hostility towards it. Therefore, your power of love, when he realizes that you are not an enemy, he will immediately stop. So, therefore I say unto you, love your enemies. As you have no enemies. Since you have no enemies, of course you can love them. Even if he is hostile to you, even if he behaves like an enemy to you, but on your side you have no enemies. Bless them that curse you. Because people curse each other. This is a very common thing. I don't know about here, in this part of the world. I don't know about in the Western world. But in India, that's the first thing people open out with. I curse you. I curse you. It is so common there, the idea of cursing each other. They get so angry with the other person, so upset, annoyed, and the first thing which comes out is, I curse you. No, you don't do that. You don't do that. So bless them that curse you. Bless them that curse you. Then do good to them that hate you. Do good to them that hate you. So when you do good to them who hate you, their hatred towards you melts away. Melts away. And pray for them which despitefully use you. Because there are many people who take advantage of your limitations in some capacity or the other and abuse you and abuse your services too. So they are despitefully using you because of their power, because of their position, or because of their influence. They are despitefully using you. So therefore he says, pray for them, and you are helpless in that situation. So pray for them. Pray for them means have a benign attitude towards them. And persecute you. And people persecute you too. So when people persecute you, it is not that you in return retaliate. You don't do that too. Because you are now godly in your ways. You are now learning to be godly in your ways. And therefore you must function in a godly manner. and not in an animal manner. Of course, they behave like animals. They behave like demons. These are the people who do this sort of thing. But that does not mean that you also should be like them. Then he continues in 45, that you may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. So therefore do all these things, like bless them, bless those who pray for them, who persecute you, who cause harm to you, who are inimical to you. Love them. But why? Why should you do that? The reason he is giving in the next line, that you may be the children of your Father. Because you are the children of your Father, the son or the daughter of God, therefore you also should learn to behave and function in an appropriate manner which is suitable. That is to say, be godly. Be godly and noble. So that you may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. So God maintains an equal disposition towards the good and the bad. He maketh his sun rise on the evil and on the good. So when the sun rises, the blessing of the sun is there uniformly upon the good person and upon the wicked person seated on the other side. It doesn't show any partiality. And rain on the just and the unjust. And the rain too, it falls everywhere on the just person and on the unjust person too it falls. So, in the similar way also, you should correspondingly be godly in your ways. The reason he gives, for if you love them which love you, what reward have you? It's all right if somebody, you love him because he loves you back. That's okay. You give because he gives something, therefore you give. What type of giving and taking is this? So you just only love those who love you? No. You should learn to love. So that's what he says. For if you love them which love you, what reward have you? Why don't you love people who don't love you? That is very difficult. To love those people who do not love you. That requires nobility of the heart. Only when you have the nobility of the heart could you love them which do not love you. Could you love those who hate you? The person who hates you, just because the other person hates you, it does not mean that you also hate him back. Does it mean? No, it's not so. So be it. If he hates you, so be it. That's his problem. If he loves you, that's his problem too. Right? But as far as you are concerned, you are loving. You are loving, irrespective of whether they hate you or love you, you are loving. So loving is a character within you, which is like the flower emitting its fragrance. So the loving feeling is also similarly like that. It's a loving feeling which oozes out of you and pervades and permeates your surroundings and all people. It's a loving feeling. So when you have this, you have neither loves nor hates. You neither love anybody in particular nor hate anybody in particular. None of that is there. You are loving. You are a loving individual. Uniformly loving one and all. So, then he says, for if you love them which love you, What reward have you? Do not even the publicans the same? Publicans means the tax collectors. The tax collectors, of course, love the people who give them the taxes. And if you salute your brethren only, what do you more than others? If your brethren salutes you, and you salute him back, but then others, don't you salute them? Why not? And if you salute your brethren only, what do you more than others? Why don't you salute all people around you? That means have an equal regard. Yes, salute means have an equal regard for one and all. Not that you salute like a military officer, but rather you have equal regard. Equal regard. Equal regard. R-E-G-A-R-D. Equal regard for one and all. You consider nobody as higher or nobody as lower than you. You consider nobody as superior and nobody as inferior to you. You have equal regard for one and all in the world. Do not even the publicans do. So do not even the tax collectors, don't they regard you? Because you have come with a money bag. They regard you. They regard you. So why not regard others also in the same manner? Be you therefore. Now this is one of the most pertinent and important statements in the entire gospel. Be you therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. This is one of the most important pronouncements in the Bible and in the New Testament of the Bible, indicating the nature of being of God. What is God? When the question is asked, what is God? Or who is God? God means perfected being. God is perfect. Even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. So God is perfect. Perfect means perfected existence. Perfected existence. Perfected in all sense, in all terms. There is a definition for God. It's perfected existence. If anyone asks you what is God or who is God, the answer is perfect. God is perfect, which means perfected existence. Perfected existence means God is self-complete in its existence. Self-complete. Self-complete means God is whole. W-H-O-L-E, whole. And one. And self-complete. And perfect in every sense of the term. This is the definition for God. It's perfected existence. Now, juxtaposed to this, what is your current human existence? Tell me. Your current existence as incomplete. That's right. You feel yourself as a human entity. You feel imperfect, incomplete in every sense of the term. imperfect, inadequate. What do you want to be? Perfect, self-complete. You are incomplete now, and therefore you want to be self-complete or self-complete. That is your heart's yearning, isn't it? Whether you want God or not is a different issue, because you don't know what God is. But this much you know what you want. Is it not? You know what, this is what you want. You want to be self-complete. Complete, or which is self-complete. In every sense of the term. In every sense of the term. That is your heart's yearning. Right. When you attain to have the God experience, you will experience your self-complete nature. You will experience that you are now self-complete. So this is what you want. And this experience of being self-complete and whole and one is what is called in religious parlance, in religious language, as God experience. So this is a very intricate statement given here. One of the most important statements in the entire Bible and the New Testament, which speaks about the secret of your existence, which is that you are longing to be self-complete. And when will this transpire? When you experience God within yourself. The God within yourself, when you experience it within you. And this is what is called as the kingdom of heaven is within. Because it is at that time that the state is so heavenly. It is a heavenly experience. Heavenly means so wonderful. That's why Buddha said, Nirvanam Paramam Sukham. And the Hindu scriptures also reiterate this fact. It mentions it even more precisely and more clear. So this is what each person should the heart's longing of every person. Whether you want God or not is a separate issue. It's a separate issue. But every person wants this. And this state is what is called as experiencing your true self. Experiencing your true status as the self-complete divine, because you are the divine. Because what has happened is, the moment the word God gets used in the world, automatically there is a primitive anthropomorphic idea that I am here, a miserable human being, and God yonder is there, a superlative being, and we are different. He is he and I am I, right? This is a primitive anthropomorphic notion of God. And this notion has to be cleared totally. It's an erroneous notion maintained by primitive people, primitive tribes. It's a primitive way of looking at things. So that is why the scripture has come and is trying to educate you into the higher understanding. That thou, my child, thou art the divine. Thou art the divine. You don't have to weep or lament over your existence. There is a way to get back to your divine status. So that is what the scripture is saying. So be you therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. It's perfected existence. Whose? Yours. Not only God's, yours too. It is your own purpose, because that is what you long for, with all your heart. It is that state which you desire. Once you get this state, after that, there is no question of desiring God or not. That's a separate issue. That is a separate issue. You see? But this is what you long for. So we need to educate people in a different way to make them appreciate the profound truth of their own existence. Then, there's another secret about this. Why did Jesus say this also? He has now indicated the nature of being of the Father of God. He has indicated that God is perfected existence. That's clear. Now, if you want to also aspire, if you as an individual aspires to this particular state, then how should you be? There Jesus says, be you therefore perfect. You too also should try to be a perfect individual. You in your own life should try to be a perfect person, a perfect individual, perfect in all what you are. If you are a man, try to be a perfect man. If you are a husband, try to be a perfect husband. If you are a wife, try to be a perfect wife. If you are whatever status you have, according to that status that you have, try to be perfect in that particular status. So this is the way to get back to your perfected state, perfected godly state. Try to be perfect in all what you are. You are now a perfect individual. You do everything perfectly. Perfectly. To whose satisfaction? To your satisfaction. As best as you can. If you are a father, try to be a perfect father to your children. If you are an employer, try to be a perfect employer. If you are an employee or a worker, try to be a perfect employee or a worker. Be correct and be sincere in being what you are. So this should be the ideal of every person. If at all, a person must have an ideal in life. This is the primary ideal. The ideal is not to become a scientist, not to become whatever, but the ideal is to become a perfect person, a perfect individual. So this should be the aspiring ideal of every person. And anything else that you do is by the way. You can be a perfect physician, a perfect gardener, a perfect nun, or a perfect priest, or a perfect scientist. Whatever you can be, but as an individual, you should be perfect and do everything perfect. In fact, that holy man, Yogeshwarananda, as I had mentioned a little earlier too, nearly over 100 years ago, 120 years ago, in Sri Lanka, in Jaffna, he was working in the government department in the irrigation or survey department. He was working and taking care of the stores. He knew English. He was a little English educated too. And being in the irrigation or survey department, I'm not sure which one, they often had to pitch camps in the jungles surveying the irrigation projects, etc. And his senior officer in charge was an Englishman. And that man, the Englishman, must have been a noble fellow. He was observing this young man who was in charge of the stores, taking care of his duties very meticulously and perfectly, his interaction with people, and also at the same time, the way he was functioning and acting and behaving. He observed all that and he said, "You are a perfect man. You are a perfect man." Now this man, because he was being perfect and doing everything perfectly. As a person, he was perfect. Then thereafter, soon after, he tendered his resignation in his late 20s and became a hermit, a fakir, living on alms and going through his meditative practices. And he got enlightened. Very shortly, very quickly he got enlightened. But before that, he had successfully completed his apprenticeship as a human by being perfect. That was his apprenticeship. That he had become a perfect person. Perfect in all his ways. Perfect in all his interactions with people around. So this should be the ideal of one and all. If you want to attain to that perfected state, because God is perfect, that perfected state, then you too also, the way towards it is to be a perfect individual. Aspire to be a correct and noble, perfect person. That should be the ideal of every person in the world. So, who is God or what is God, and the way to God is also indicated in that number 40 sermon of the 5th chapter, the 48th statement of the 5th chapter of the Sermon on the Mount, which is one of the most profound statements in the entire Bible. Om Tat Sat.